You may have heard over the weekend that former President Donald Trump and his supporters got very excited because the so-called audit of the 2020 presidential election in Arizona had finally found the smoking gun. They'd said they found the evidence that the presidential election was tampered with somehow. And maybe this was the proof that Donald Trump really didn't lose Arizona, and therefore he didn't really lose the election, and therefore secretly he's still president, and all will be revealed. Former President Trump rushed out a statement about it, saying, quote, "The entire database of Maricopa County in Arizona has been, all caps, deleted. This is illegal, and the Arizona State Senate, who is leading the forensic audit, is up in arms." Yes, the Republicans who run the Arizona State Senate did seize more than 2 million ballots from Arizona's largest county. They did hand them over to a firm called Cyber Ninjas to recount the whole presidential election. They were up in arms. It's true, just like Donald Trump said. And so today they announced that they would be holding a hearing with the QAnon conspiracy theory promoter who runs Cyber Ninjas and the other folks they've got running this so-called audit. They said they would hold this hearing to get to the bottom of this scandal, to tell America what's going on with the smoking gun deleted database. But then at the hearing today, the geniuses running the audit actually had to admit, sorry, we do actually have the database. It was not deleted. We misunderstood. Never mind. Election auditors say they have the data that they accused Maricopa County of deleting. Oh, we have that. We said you threw it out. We have it. Oh, right. That whole thing the former president was yelling about, the election crime he had discovered that would undo the 2020 election and put him back in the White House. Never mind, that didn't happen. Oops. But something about this latest debacle involving the clown show Arizona audit, this messing with the presidential election results in Arizona, seems to have broken something in a bunch of Arizona Republicans, or maybe broken something open among Republicans who had previously supported this so-called audit, or who had at least stayed grudgingly silent about it. I mean, spare a thought for the recently elected Republican Maricopa County recorder, which means he's the county's election administrator. He was just elected in November. He defeated the Democratic incumbent and became the new county recorder. But because he was just elected in November, that means he had literally nothing to do with administering the election in November. He just took office this year after he himself was elected in that election. And he has said publicly he had no interest in getting involved in this clown show fight over what happened in the November election. He was clearly hoping just to sit it out and let it blow over. But it's not blowing over. And when former President Trump put out his statement this weekend trumpeting the supposed deletion of Maricopa County's voter database and that being a huge crime, Maricopa County's Republican election administrator decided that he had finally had enough, that he could no longer sit by and hope this all went away. He said, quote, "Wow, this is unhinged." Talking about President Trump's statement. "I'm literally looking at our voter registration database on my other screen right now." He said, "We can't indulge these insane lies any longer as a party, as a state, as a country. This is as readily falsifiable as 2 + 2 = 5. If we don't call this out, ... And he just left it there at the ellipses. I mean, on the one hand, Republicans in Arizona now finally appear to be standing up in some numbers and calling this stuff out. And it seems like they're mostly doing it because they recognize that they're starting to look foolish. For example, you could hear the exasperation in the voice of that Republican Maricopa County elections administrator when he appeared before the Board of Supervisors in the county yesterday and recited the litany of insanity that even just he has been subjected to in his few short months in office.
I have been accused of inserting fake ballots delivered from a South Korean plane. More recently, I have been accused of deleting entire databases, even though I participated in the transference of all databases to the Senate, have seen them with my own eyes, and even though I still have access to the current fully functional voting database. It is enough. Supervisor Hickman has even been accused of feeding ballots to hundreds of thousands of chickens at his farm and then purposefully incinerating them.
Incinerating the chickens to cover up the evidence that the chickens ate the ballots. Because you wouldn't just incinerate the ballots, you'd want them to pass through a chicken first, and then got to get rid of the chicken. See? Come on. Don't think we don't know how to play this game. Without a chicken in the middle of the incineration process, can all be reverse engineered. Then Joe Biden would be president. Even one Republican state senator who voted for this audit now tells the New York Times, quote, "It makes us look like idiots." Looking back, I didn't think it would be this ridiculous. It's embarrassing to be a state senator at this point. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, it's a 5-member board. 4 of the 5 are Republicans. Today, they refused an invitation from the state Senate president to attend that hearing they held today with the conspiracy theorists they hired to run this supposed audit. The supervisors instead wrote to the Republican president of the state Senate, and this is what they said, quote, "You have rented out the once good name of the Arizona State Senate to grifters and con artists who are fundraising hard-earned money from our fellow citizens, even as your contractors parade around the Coliseum hunting for bamboo and something they called kinematic artifacts while shining purple lights for effect. None of these things are done in a serious audit. The result is that the Arizona Senate is held up to ridicule in every corner of the globe, and our democracy is imperiled. And our democracy is imperiled." This split in the Arizona Republican Party that's spilling out into the open this week seems to have arisen in part because of Republicans' concern about them becoming a laughingstock. Yes. But they're also making the point now that as much as people are laughing at them about this, and as bad as that is, this also has serious consequences, not just for how Americans think in the abstract about our democracy, about if elections are real things that we should use that have objectively verifiable outcomes, and that's how we make political decisions in this country. Even beyond that big picture, in just looking in the very short term and locally, Arizona Republicans are now saying, hey, when we next have an election in this state in 2022, by doing this, by indulging every conspiracy and fantasy about supposed election fraud that we can conjure from the ether and treating it all like it's equally serious and it all must be tracked down. By doing this, we are on track to have an electorate that doesn't believe in the results of the next election.
We certified the election back in November, but now it's time to say enough is enough. It is time to push back on the big lie. We must do this. We must do this as a member of the Republican Party. We must do this as a member of the Board of Supervisors. We need to do this as a country. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to move forward and have an election in 2022 that we can all believe the results, whatever they may be.
One of the Republicans on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, as they all in unison demand that Republicans in the state legislature stop messing with the election results, stop their supposed audit, their supposed recount of the presidential election results that is apparently going to stretch out through the summer as they put President Trump's election fraud fantasies under the spotlight.